Hello, and welcome to Inches and Cubes, a Warhammer 40k podcast presented by Encounter Wargaming. Our fearless hosts are me, Paul Mr. Fist Fowler,
Point and click Nick Coslow,
and
Adam Truax, the truest axe to ever axe an axe.
and we'll be guiding you through our favorite parts of the hobby, so grab your cubes and come with us.
Hello, and welcome to episode 12 of Inches and Cubes. Tonight you have the rare pleasure of just listening to Paul and I look into each other's eyes and talk about the new Space Marine Codex.
That's right, it's just the two of us. We've been left unsupervised.
Yeah, we can make it if we try.
Yep, so do you want to explain where Adam is today?
So Adam decided to venture into the warp and come up with an excuse for why Luna Wolves are still in 40k. So when he gets back, we'll talk to him about that.
Yeah, we'll get an explanation. Last episode, in episode 11, we talked about how to run a tournament or an event, things that you might need to consider. So go back and check that out if you're so inclined. And today, you guys know what this topic is going to be, obviously, given the fact that the Space Marine Codex just came out. We're going to talk about the Space Marine Codex.
Oh, we are?
Yeah.
I need to get some notes together. Okay, give us 5,
yeah.
we'll be back. All right, and we're back. So, a couple of erratas, because, no one likes to admit their mistakes, but we're better than most people. So we're going to go ahead and admit when we're wrong. From last episode, first off, it's the ITC, the Independent Tournament Circuit, not the ITS. I don't know what ITS stands for. We could say Irritable Tongue Syndrome?
Yeah, well, that would explain why me and Adam just kept saying it wrong.
I think you guys just fed off each other.
Yeah, well, I think, I said it, and then Adam was like, Paul's probably right.
Yep.
Bad assumption.
Yeah, never assume Paul is right. Always check your sources. And last episode, we also sadly gave the wrong person credit for bringing the greasy servitors to the tournament. Mike Chapman did not paint them.
Nope.
He lied.
I don't know if he lied.
He was like, "Look what I brought."
Yeah, he did bring them. Yeah. It's if you bring cookies to a picnic, no one's like, "Did you bake these?" If they come out of an Oreo box.
That's fair. So it was Matt Hurd who painted up the servitors and gave them to Mike to bring to us.
Yeah.
It's also Matt Hurd's birthday today.
That's right. We're recording on that Golden Boy's birthday, so mad props, shoutouts, and 2 minutes of air horns to him. I'll edit those in.
Tell us where you went for dinner. I know you went for a nice birthday dinner. I'd love to hear it because I always love getting restaurant recommendations in this great city. Mm-hmm. So we're giving you the credit you deserve, Matt.
That's right. And more importantly, taking it away from Mike.
That's always the most important part. Also, Connor wanted to be on this show, but then he didn't want to be on this show. So thanks, Connor.
Let's expect a lot of heat on this one, Connor.
So let's jump right into hobby progress. I'm going to make this easy. I have none.
Okay. The vampires, all 4 are completed now. Adam got one to me later than the rest. Like I said before, great P3 Navy recipe.
These are the ladies riding the skeleton horses?
Yes, skeleton horses. They're riding side saddle. I got to practice my red on them. It's nice to get a kind of earthy red on them, starting with a Mephiston base, and then switching over to the P3 Scorn red.
Okay.
So it gives a really, really high contrast highlight, and then I just kind of go over the whole thing with Agrax, and then re-highlight. It looks good. I had a lot of fun doing their faces. Lady faces are not a thing that you get to paint a lot as a Space Marine player, because of the no girls allowed.
It's true. We're scared of them.
Mm-hmm. So that was actually a nice change of pace. And yeah, like I said before, the hair color was something I had to sort out. But now I've moved on to a zombie dragon, the old model. So the metal one.
Oh no.
No.
Well, at least you didn't have to put them together.
No, Jay did that. But this one I'm having a lot of fun just kind of prototyping the scheme for. I think I'm gonna try and do just GW website scheme that doesn't. I can't find an improvement on it, and I can't think of one.
Yeah, is this for Sigmar? No, you just paint.
Yeah.
You just painting the models that you were given to paint. That's
exactly.
fair.
I'm just a technician at this point.
So anybody out there listening, you just pay Paul money. You won't ask questions. I'm just gonna
Yeah, what do you need painted? What do you need done? When you need it done by, that's too soon. I'll do it in 2 weeks after that. But I'll tell you up front.
That's fair.
Mm-hmm.
So getting into games played.
Games played. That looks more like an Ace Hill Pilsner.
It is an Ace Hill Pilsner. Yeah, so I actually have a friend who does distribution for these guys, so
He should be hooking us up.
we got to find a couple sponsors.
Any like small beer places out there that are listening, Henderson's, we'd love to exclusively get lubricated on your beers. So, we're happy.
Yeah, and also I just want to shout out, because we're talking about beer right now, we're going to take a quick aside. I love Henderson's.
Yeah.
I went there, I think Sunday. Maybe it was Saturday. Not sure what day it was. Anyways, walk in, and Julie, my partner, just started talking to the bartender. I'm like, yeah, Julie's a friendly person. Turns out they know each other. We bought beer. We bought beer from the actual cooler and then ordered a couple pints for ourselves. And the person at Henderson's was just like, no, it's all good, man.
What?
Yeah, so it was awesome.
So support Henderson's.
Support Henderson's. They're a great beer. Although,
Should we all just date Julie? Which way is
I
this?
would prefer that we all love Henderson's. Although apparently they have a very bad rap in the craft beer scene.
Okay. Well.
Because you think Warhammer has some like bad blood between certain groups of people. Apparently the craft beer scene, whole other drama fest, people.
You know what? I can believe that because you have people making stuff together, and people are so finicky about their yeasts and their hops and when you add them. So as soon as you have an opinion and then someone tells you you're wrong, they're mad about it.
People out there, we're gonna get off of beer, but if you want us to try your beer live on air, give it a quick review. Happy to do it.
Still not live, Nick. We're still not doing live shows.
That's fair. So, we're on a 30-second delay.
All right, let me go into games played. I didn't play any.
Good keeping up with the hobby.
Well,
I like the balance.
Well, dude, it was...
I played a game. I didn't do any hobby. You did the hobby. You didn't play any games.
It was really nice out all weekend.
That's true.
And my Irish friend had an Irish friend here, so I went drinking.
I know I was with you.
Oh, right.
I played a really fun game versus Jay Booth. I wanted to play a bigger game because I enjoy bigger games. Everyone gets to bring more toys. So we went with 2,500 points. I played my Emperor's Children. He brought out his Iron Warriors for the first time since the tournament. He had 3 Vindicators, 2 Leman Russes, 2 Rhinos, a Whirlwind Scorpius, 30 Chaos Space Marines, 40 Cultists, a Contemptor Dreadnought, 2 Chaos Hellrights, which are kind of like the Dark Mechanicum representatives in the Forge World book. Really cool models.
Yeah.
He actually used the converted Forge Fathers or Tech Marines that he uses in 30k as them, and then just a regular Chaos Lord. I was shaking in my boots a little bit when we started playing.
I gotta say, if you haven't seen pictures of Jay's army, you can check out the Encounter Wargaming blog. He's got pictures up there. They are nice. He's got a very characterful and very clean looking.
All freehand too.
Yeah,
his tactical squads in 30k, Chaos Space Marine squads in 40k. Each squad has a freehand squad logo on their shoulder pads. One's a skull, one's a cross, and I don't remember what the other one is. He freehands with no tape, no blue tack, the Iron Warriors hazard stripes.
It's like watching a guy rock climbing without any sort of like pins in. Like he's
free climbing.
Yeah,
I would. Yeah, no, couldn't do it.
No, I'd go crazy.
So learned a couple things this game. First off, overcharging plasma guns when there's a Chaos Lord within 1 inch is brutal. So basically my list, I tried out a couple of new things. I took rapier batteries. So I took 2 quad heavy bolter rapier batteries. Fantastic, points efficient, fun, puts out a lot of shots. I took 2 squads of 5 Chaos Terminators, all with combi plasmas, and a Lord in Terminator armor. He's not new. Actually, he is new. It's the first time I've run a Chaos Lord. Yeah, so he's new. And then I also took a Chaos Hellforged Contemptor Dreadnought and threw him in a Dreadclaw. So
Wait, so how are the Dreadclaws in 8th edition?
well, I got a funny story about the Dreadclaw. So the Dreadclaw didn't really do much. It just allowed me to put the Contemptor right in his lines. So turn one,
You're abusing the word just, because that's a Contemptor Dreadnought right in your lines.
well, it gets worse.
Oh, gosh.
So I had a fire base. So I had 2 squads of Noise Marines, 2 Rapier batteries, and then a Chaos Lord, providing the reroll ones to hit to that entire bubble. Mm-hmm. And then in reserve, I also had a Fire Raptor. So in reserve, I also had the 2 squads of Terminators, the Chaos Lord, the Dreadclaw, and the Contemptor Dreadnought. And first turn, on one of his flanks, I pushed the Fire Raptor up on the flank to be within 6 inches of the Lord. Lord came down. Contemptor Dreadnought came down. Terminators came down. So all of a sudden, on one flank, there was just like an entire
New
army.
Yeah.
And he was just like, oh. So the Chaos Contemptor has this awesome weapon called the Soul Burner. And I take 2 of them, because you can just put them in the Contemptor's fists. And it's just D3 shots. If it hits on 2s, re-rolling 1s, because within 6 inches of the Chaos Lord.
Uh-huh.
All successful hits are auto-mortal wounds.
And that does, like, the fact that they don't replace anything is bananas.
Well, you could replace it with a Soul Burner. You could replace an entire arm with like a Soul Burner Bombard, which is 2d3.
And these are the Contemptors?
Chaos Contemptors.
Get out of town.
Yeah. So came down and just blew up 2 vehicles immediately, killed a Scorpius immediately, did a lot of crazy stuff. The Contemptor made like an 11-inch charge into combat after coming down.
No, Nick.
Then, the Contemptor has a Hellforged Chain Claw, which is like AP -4, double strength, and flat 4 damage.
Yeah, flat 4.
So you're 5 attacks, hitting on 2s, and just mowing through tanks. So he killed a Vindicator, and then he used his Machine Malefica rule to regain a wound that he had lost on Overwatch from the Vindicator.
Oh, cats.
So that was fun. The other thing that happened, the Dreadclaw has a funny rule now. So instead of flying over people and doing the fire sweep, because the Dreadclaw is meant for ship-to-ship combat, right? So it's meant to, like, the big drop pod.
Yeah.
Clamp onto a hull, fire melta-cutters, people charge in. On the ground, it can use those melta-cutters to do like kind of like a heat blast. So what it does is in the shooting phase, it's 6 inches. Mm-hmm. It's pistol. I don't know why it's a pistol.
So you can shoot it in combat.
And basically the rule is this weapon can only be fired if there are more enemy units within 6 inches of the vehicle than friendly units.
That's a weird one.
Because when it's fired, it hits all units within 6 inches, friendly or enemy. It does D6 hits, strength 6, -1 AP, 1 damage.
Oh, man, like, it's a drop pod. That flaw is...
200 points.
It should be.
Yeah, it's 200 points.
It's really good 200 points.
You have to get out of it now, though. So in the old rules, when you brought down the Dreadclaw, you could stay in.
Yeah.
Now you have to get out.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You can get back in.
Are you kidding me?
It's a transport vehicle. It's also pretty decent in combat. So it hits on 5s.
Wait, the fact that you are following up, it's a transport vehicle, with it's pretty decent in combat.
Yeah, so it's got the Machine Malefica rule, so it regains wounds when it kills people.
Yeah, just eating people.
Hits on 5s in combat. As it loses wounds, it gets better in combat.
That I like. I like that about the Chaos vehicles.
It's strength 7, AP -2, 2 damage.
What? Like...
So, it didn't actually do much all game. I think it killed a couple cultists. But at the very end, I just kept, like, flying it around the board because it's annoying and everyone hates the Dreadclaw. It's
super annoying. And, like, it's got the fly keyword, so you can't even, like, assault nudge it.
No, you can't assault nudge it. So, back to Jay's army, the Hellrights have this really cool weapon called the Soul Burner Pistol, which is the same as the Soul Burner. It's just pistol 2, 12 inches, hits cause mortal wounds. It's 2 shots. So you're just like, bah, bah,
I like that.
2 headshots.
I like that a lot.
It's also got like a Void Cutter, which automatically hits, is Strength 8, -4 AP, D6 damage.
That's really good.
Yeah. So he actually shot the Dreadclaw twice, did 2 mortal wounds to it. It had already taken some wounds earlier. Blew it up with the Void Cutter. It was the Hellrite and a couple cultists and a Leman Russ battle tank that was all within 6 inches of the Dreadclaw. Rolled the explode result. Didn't explode. I was like, you know what?
Command pointed it?
Command pointed it and rolled a 6.
Scum.
The Leman Russ battle tank had 2 wounds left. It died. The Hellrite died. And 3 cultists died. It was a weird game because it was really one-sided, but it wasn't like... There weren't outlandish rolls.
Yeah.
I posted some pics online, and it basically came down to deployment. So Jay deployed all of his stuff in a line at 12 inches. It was Dawn of War. Mm-hmm. All on one side of the board.
Oh, with your army, like, that's just...
Yeah.
That's a smorgasbord set up for you.
Because, like, if he had spread out a little bit more, then I would have had to come down in front of his army. But, like, he was playing Vindicators and Demolisher Cannons, so very short range.
Yeah, like, with that, I would suggest keep them about 7 inches back, so it's going to keep you from deep striking behind them.
Yep.
Not that there's, like, a rear arc, but you just don't want to get pincered.
Yeah, no, I couldn't have deep struck behind him, but yeah.
And then, yeah, you just want to keep everything in front of your big guns.
Yep.
Again, facings don't matter, but conceptually.
Well, no, because it was just like there was only 2 or 3 out of the 6 Demolisher tanks or Demolisher cannons were in range at any given time. And I have to say, I'm not a big fan of Demolisher cannons because they only get D3 shots against vehicles.
Yeah. The big blast weapons, there's still a couple of rules that I feel like aren't quite fully baked anymore.
Yeah, I wasn't too impressed by those, but he took the Whirlwind Scorpius as well. I killed it first turn because I know exactly what it does, and I'm not letting it fire at me.
Nope. Now, here's the thing, though. When the Chaos book comes out, all those Demolishers are going to be really upsetting because you're going to be able to command point them with a stratagem, probably.
Oh, maybe something different.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk about stratagems later. And we'll get into chaos stuff in fun time.
Yeah, that's a little tease right off the top.
So that's my games played. I think that's all we got off of the top for the podcast. So we're going to take a little break. Hey, you want to eat a pizza?
Yeah.
Watch some Castlevania?
Yeah, man. Again, last episode when Alucard does the Shadow Dash, that was the coolest.
Oh, yeah. So we're going to be right back at you after this quick word from our sponsors.
Goodbye.
Battle Brothers Studios, a commission painting service passionate about making your miniatures and your gaming table look great. Our philosophy at Battle Brothers is this: your army is our army. Every model will be something you can be proud to show off. Send us a message on facebook.com/Battle Brothers Studios for a free quote and make that dream project come to life. We also have something special planned for the release of 8th edition of 40K. Right now, get 20% off if you commission us to paint an 8th edition starter set, or get a 10% off Army Bundle bonus for painting up your new 8th edition 40K Army. Inquire with us on Facebook for full details.
Hogtown, Hogtown, Hogtown!
Saturdays at Sword and Board!
Rock and Bloor!
It's behind the pizza.
Oh, yeah!
Idiots.
And we're back.
That was great. We watched The English Patient on the break. Real tearjerker based on a Canadian novel. I suggest that you go and check it out.
Michael on Dace?
Yeah.
Have you read In the Skin of a Lion?
Mm-mm. It's on my bookshelf because I work in publishing. So
Yeah, we're way off topic now. We're going to do a book review. So, In the Skin of a Lion is set in, like, the Industrial Revolution Toronto.
yeah.
So it's, like, talks about, like, workers dying on the Don Valley Bridge being built, the actual Hogtown that was Toronto and just the endless horizon of pigs.
I mean, not much has changed.
Hot take!
Yeah.
So should we... Alright, first off, the fact that you are giving a In the Skin of a Lion review, but didn't know Blood Meridian, makes me realize I know exactly what to get you for Christmas.
Blood Meridian?
Ah, shoot.
Oh, God, that was so easy.
Yeah. But what we're going to do now, instead of our CanCon book reviews, is get into the Space Marine, the Adeptus Astartes Codex.
I'll take the IP copyright infringement lawsuit back. Thank you very much.
You're kindly welcome, GW lawyer that just appeared. First, we're going to go through a couple of the fluff callouts that I was really impressed with. The Crimson Fists, they're up to fighting strength now.
Are they getting ready for another suicidal last stand?
No, they're not. They are, kind of... No, that's not their deal anymore. Basically, during the Indominus Crusade, Rin's world was under attack by a demon prince, Raxor, and Call shows up with his big ship, the Zar Quistador, or Quistador, however you want to pronounce that, and the Call's whole thing during the Indominus Crusade is just balling around on this ship, landing on planets, and dumping out a chapter, or chapter reinforcements. So the Crimson Fists get theirs, but the weird thing is, where this was like 10,000 years in the making, this Primaris project, some of these were Space Marines that were taken from the Imperial Fist Legion, so back in like M32 or so. And these guys remember Dorn, so they are a living link to the Legion, which is something that I was really kind of impressed with, that they thought about doing stuff like that. Also makes sense why we have Primaris Ancients. They're this cool kind of link to the legions of old.
Yeah, because we were talking about this before the podcast, and not knowing that fluff stuff behind the Primaris Marines really never felt as if the Primaris Marines had the same level of humanity as, well, Legion Space Marines from 30K, because they're very characterful and very flawed.
Yeah.
Or just Space Marines from the 40K fluff as well. But now we're seeing Games Workshop start to develop a little bit of the storyline behind them. Maybe give them a bit of personality, because now all of a sudden, we're talking about people who are like potentially just as old as Bjorn the Fell-Handed, and who fought maybe against the Death Guard when they weren't, covered in syphilis and scabies.
Also, I love the fact that I forget if they go into this or it was just some headcanon that I saw on Reddit, but the idea of Gilliman running into Dante, who it's like Dante's like what, 6,000 years old?
Yeah.
So he's like, listen, if you need someone to fill you in, I got this.
Yeah.
I know how to do this. Like that's something that I think I would really like to see explored. Bjorn would be a fun sit-down meeting between these two, but this is headcanon stuff that we would like to see. One little thing that I like is Gilliman brought in the idea of fire support squads. So you're seeing just, Hellblasters. Just 5-man squads of guys with plasma guns.
Yeah, I think, were we talking about that?
Yeah, that's a Legion tactic.
It's very much a Legion tactic, and I think we're seeing a little bit less of the Primaris Marines seem to be a little bit less of the tactically flexible, and more of the overwhelming firepower where this is how we fight.
Yeah, and when someone when you replace one weapon, they all replace them. There's no sort of toolbox for them like tactical Marines.
So I just want to ask one thing that kind of skips ahead to the rules. So these squads of Primaris Marines, can they take more than 5 models now?
Yeah, they can be bumped up.
Oh boy!
Yeah, you're gonna be mad.
Well, I do have a 10-man plasma squad of 30K / 40K stuff. So
yeah, you're fine. You're fine. Further to chapters like the Crimson Fist getting reinforcements, the Imperial Fist also got a lot of reinforcements because they ended up taking heavy losses defending Cadia, defending Earth, defending Terra. Yeah, they just go out there and they're like, oh, you're pretty hurt, and they're like, we can stand. We're bloodied but unbad.
No, you're missing part of your chest.
Yeah, well, they gave us 2 hearts. The chapter organization doesn't change. It's still 10 companies. the Primaris Marines are rolled into each company. So they're not going above 100, they're replacing losses.
1,000.
Right, sorry.
Yeah.
100 per company is what I meant.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, that makes sense. That's interesting because, yeah, we're seeing the old Space Marines die off in battle to replace by...
Well, who knows? They also go into the new organs. I didn't write down the names because they're not that interesting because it's just 3 organs.
You called them, they are the embiggening organs.
Yeah, one is literally the embiggening organ where it's like, this makes you bigger than most things. Then there's one that is implanted in the brain and has the gene seed of whichever, not the gene seed, but genetic material of whichever Primarch they've been descended from.
Okay.
So these guys are more, have a like stronger link to the Primarch than the rest of the chapter, the regular Astartes.
It's not necessarily a good thing.
No, because usually the fish was rotting from the head down in the heresy,
and you don't want to inherit daddy issues.
So that's something I think we're going to see play out in the fluff, but I just thought it was something that required a mention. Then every chapter gets like a timeline, and the last little bit of that timeline just kind of situates the chapter in the fluff. Ultramarines, after the Indominus Crusade, they're just doing vengeance rides. They're sort of consolidating power and kind of going back to the worlds that were just too entrenched. The Indominus Crusade was all about inertia, is what this book really sets down. It was like, all right, how much can we free? How much good can we do? How much damage can we do to the Chaos Forces that just popped up out of the Great Rift? So some things just had to be ignored, and Gilliman luckily was exactly the guy to like make those calls. And now we're seeing the Ultramarines kind of, like I said, consolidate that power base. So that's kind of cool. Then the White Scars, or did you anything to? Nope, nothing to say.
Nope, nothing to add.
Okay, White Scars. Jubla Khan is just like his dad, lost in space. No. He wasn't drunk. Was he a drunk?
Yeah, so that's why Kublai Khan, that's where the Mongol Empire fell.
Oh, I thought we were talking about the Primarch Khan.
I'm talking actually about Kublai Khan.
Oh, no, get out of here.
They got all the way to Poland, won the battle against the Catholic army, then Kublai Khan died of alcoholism, and everybody had to go back to Mongolia. And then, that was the high watermark for the Mongol Empire.
There you go. So maybe you guys shouldn't be drinking. You want to open up that beer, Nick? What do you got there for me?
So Paul brought a Side Launch Brewing Company Side Launch wheat.
Yeah.
So it's an authentic Bavarian wheat-style beer served unfiltered with its natural yeast and proteins. Using a traditional special yeast, this beer is bursting with flavors that may surprise you. Reminiscent of bananas, cloves, and lemons, it has become a year-round favorite and one of the best in its class.
Yeah, that's they're over in the East End, right?
Yes.
Or are they Georgian Bay?
I think they're... Oh, it's Collingwood.
Anyways, this is delicious beer. Check it out. But getting back to it, Jubla Khan is lost in space. So during the Great Rift, Chagoris, the White Scars' homeworld, was attacked by Huron, Blackheart, and his fleet. So, being the kind of guy he is, Jubla Khan hops on his Moondraken and rides across the stars and finds Huron's flagship, boards it.
Are you being serious?
No, he doesn't actually fly the motorcycle into space.
Damn it!
That would be dope. But
let me attach the rocket engines to my motorcycle.
You know what? They don't say he does, but they don't say he doesn't. And in my heart of hearts, that's how I'm picturing it. And then it goes into the warp, so you have another chapter master just sort of lost in space.
I forget the theme song to that show.
Pigs in Space? Then
Lost in Space.
The Imperial Fists, like most of the rest of this codex, got the easiest bit of fluff. They're now attacking the Iron Warriors.
Okay.
Yep, of course.
We'll get into that later.
Black Templar, they're crusading.
Where?
Just all over the place. There's 4 different crusades.
Well, that's all they ever do.
Exactly. So nothing new there. The Salamanders have taken up the role of liberators. So they are rescuing worlds. They are not...
From Chaos?
Yeah, from Chaos. It's all from Chaos.
Liberating.
Well, it's the Salamanders. They actually do that compared to, like, the Space Marines.
True.
So that's a nice little bit that I like. The Raven Guard are now engaged in a mirror match between the Night Lords. They are doing like a lot of run and gun, a lot of like head hunting. So that's fluffy and cool. And the Iron Hands, I hesitate to mention this because Connor's not here. What is it that we call him? Yellow-bellied.
The yellow-bellied coward.
Yellow-bellied coward. I really wanted him to be here to defend himself.
We'll get him on soon.
We'll get him on soon. Yeah, so their homeworld, Medusa, was cut off during the Great Rift, so they kind of had to exist on their own for a little while until it receded. And now they're doing the Stygian Crusade, which is just another crusade against chaos. And that's kind of where our major players are right now.
Yeah, so Space Marines have always been kind of like the first Codex in a new edition.
Mm-hmm.
And I really think this Codex, as far as rules, is really setting the tone for what we're going to see. Now, when we first started this podcast, I remember we were talking about some of the stuff that was coming up with 8th, and we were previewing stratagems.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, we'll get into stratagems now. Why not?
Yeah.
And I remember saying, you know, I think we're going to see a lot of faction-specific stratagems. And I got booed by Connor and Adam.
Yeah. Yeah.
Connor and Adam. Paul and Adam. And Connor. So the Space Marine book has a lot of Space Marine stratagems, which is really cool. So we're going to get to them in a second. I just wanted to say that Nick was right. He did predict the future. And yes, I'll do it for you for money. So all Space Marine detachments gain the following abilities. So they have Space Marine units. So this is Adeptus Astartes, and it has one of the following faction keyword. Paul just went through all of the different chapters. It's pretty simple. So you can't make use of any rules or abilities listed in this section unless it's, you know, your own chapter. So an Ultramarines chapter master or captain can't affect a Crimson Fists one.
Yeah, like nothing world breaking. If you've played Space Marines before, you know how to play Space Marines now.
So one of the biggest things I think that comes out of this is the return of objectives secured.
Huge.
I'm really hoping it's not Space Marine specific.
I hope that not everybody gets it.
Yeah, that's true.
Because right now, it's one of the few characterful things that Space Marines have.
Oh, stop whining.
No, I'm not whining. I'm just saying that Space Marines always feel like the baseline for armies. You either have an army that is Space Marines that can do this, or you have an army that are Space Marines that cannot do this, or, you know, don't. You're always comparing to Space Marines.
That's true. I'll get into this rule. So it's called the Defenders of Humanity. The warriors of the Adeptus Astartes are sworn to defend the Imperium of mankind. While a single Space Marine still stands, the light of humanity will never fade. So if your army is battle-forged, all troops unit in the Space Marine detachments gain this ability. Such a unit that is within range of an objective, as specified in the mission, which is usually 3 inches from the center of an objective, controls the objective marker, even if there are more enemy models within range of that objective marker. So if an enemy unit within range... continue on the next page. Yeah, it's my fault. So if an enemy unit within range of the same objective marker has a similar ability, there we go. Some people will probably just other Space Marines.
Yep.
Then the objective marker is controlled by the player who has the most models within range of it as normal. So, as per normal rules, the person with the most models within the 3 inches of the center of the objective claims it. If you have one Space Marine scout surrounded by 100 orcs, I don't know how you're going to cram 100 orcs into 3 inches of an objective, but we're just taking this to its ludicrous conclusion.
Yep.
Reducto ad absurdum. The Space Marine scout holds the Gracie Servitor.
Yes. I really like this rule. I think it's a really cinematic one, but I also think it is incredibly powerful. And it boosts your line troops. It boosts your tactical squads so much. Like now the idea of sniper scouts with their cloaks and a missile launcher, they're holding that objective. I mean, camping scouts are a little bit boring, but also cool.
It is interesting, too, because now that I think about this, I've never played a game where I've actually had to sit down and count the models within 3 inches of the center of an objective.
Yeah, most things die.
Yeah. Have you come down to anything like that?
Not yet. But the thing that I like is it kind of speaks to the tenacity of a Space Marine, where like they are clutch winners. They do anything. Like, do you remember that piece of art where it's like a Black Templar with his arm blown off, just like holding a standard?
Oh yeah,
that's this. That is what that looks like. That's gonna be cool.
Yeah. So this pairs well with a They Shall Know No Fear, which again, all Space Marines have that rule. So they just reroll failed morale checks. That is really good.
Is it failed morale checks or any morale
I believe
checks?
it's failed.
Yeah.
I don't know why it's not here.
Yeah, it's in the rules. Again, Games Workshop get an editor who's worked for the government so they can put together a rule set. Your rules are fine. Just the layout of your books.
Yeah, it still doesn't make sense because this is a section literally titled Abilities, and They Shall Know No Fear is not in here.
Right, because that's a rule.
So is Chapter Tactics, and it's in here.
But that's an ability.
So is Defenders of Humanity.
No, that's an ability.
What's the difference between a rule and ability?
I don't know.
All right,
this is what I'm saying.
So moving on, as per the last couple iterations of the Space Marine Codex, we have Chapter Tactics. So Chapter Tactics are a little bit more specific now.
Oh, the big change that I kind of want to call out, and I know you were going to do it, but I figure before you go and I don't get to talk for a long time, they only affect infantry, bikers, and dreadnoughts.
With one caveat. Due to their lobotomized nature, servitor units are an exception and never gain a chapter tactic.
Like, while this is in the rules section, that might be the saddest line in the entire codex, where I was like reading it, and I was like, oh.
Yeah. So you know what? Why don't you get your codex out and we'll alternate talking about chapter tactics.
Well, do you want to take the boys in blue right away?
Sure. So chapter tactics are great. They're what makes Space Marines unique. So they're not just my army's blue, my army's red, my army's yellow, my army is pink. I don't know if there's any pink ones.
Well, I mean, you're playing those Emperor's Children.
It's true. So chapter tactics. So we're just going to run through them now, and these are all for, except for Black Templars, these are all first founding legions.
And Crimson Fist.
I don't see Crimson Fists in here.
Oh, no, they chapter tactics, they just use Imperial Fists.
Right, so basically how it works again is any second founding, third founding, 100th founding chapters just use their parent chapter tactic.
Yep.
So Ultramarines, this one is by far the standout here, so we're going to talk about it first. So you add +1 to the leadership characteristics of all Ultramarine models with this tactic. I missed that. That's really good. Now you're pushing things up to leadership 10. Most things aren't leadership 10 anymore. In addition, like that's the good part. Units with this tactic can still shoot in a turn in which they fall back. But you must subtract 1 from their to hit rolls in the shooting phase. So if you get in there and you tie up a unit of Hellblasters with cultists or a fast striking unit, and you don't kill them,
what happens?
They're falling back and blowing you away and then overheating on 1s or 2s. So maybe not the best example.
But it's still, like, it's so good. Like, it just makes these guys so tactically flexible. You're never going to bog them down.
No. So coupled with the way that Ultramarines do battle, you're looking at a very much moving gunline sort of tactic. So you're not stationary. You kind of slowly, to me, Ultramarines seem like people who like slowly advance and spearhead assaults, but very much ranged combat, not so much on the close combat. This is their answer to the close combat, is they just fall back in their movement phase.
Yeah, and like you're not falling back towards your table edge. So if you want, you can use it to get in a much more advantageous position. Depending on the assault, you're advancing, well, moving forward, because advancing is the thing. It gives them so much mobility. Like, that's kind of hidden in this. I think it's one of the best ones in this book right now.
By far.
But speaking of one of the best ones, we've got White Scars. anytime a biker advances, they can move an additional 8. Any infantry unit or dreadnought can move an additional 2 when they advance. So that's the advance move.
No, so right now, because it doesn't really explain this well, but bikes have the turbo boost ability where they just move 6 automatically. You don't roll for their advance move. Right?
So now the biker advance, the turbo boost, is 8 inches.
Which is 6 plus 2. 8 is 6 plus 2.
Yeah. Hold on, wait. No, he's right.
We just pulled out. I got a glass thing in my room, in my basement, where we do advanced calculations when we're not sure on things.
NASA comes by and borrows it sometimes. But then that's really burying the lead, and I feel like Games Workshop does this all the time.
In addition, again,
right?
In addition, they give you a little something that's kind of cool, and then they're like, "Oh yeah, also,
White Scars with this tactic, they can charge in the same turn that they fell back. That's crazy."
Yeah, so if you're in combat with something you don't want to be in combat with, this is to me, well, White Scars don't take dreadnoughts; they're not supposed to.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna.
Yeah, to me, this screams dreadnoughts, because if you got a dreadnought tied up with a bunch of tactical marines or cultists, you can just fall back with the dreadnought, have another unit below that unit away, and then have the dreadnought charge a high priority target.
Well, or if you're fighting a army that always goes first in combat, you can fall out of a bad combat and at least get that one charge off.
Paul seems to be planning for something. We'll get to that in a little bit.
Well, I'm not. I'm never going to be running a White Scars army. I painted yellow. I'm not painting white.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah. But yeah, that one's huge. This is fluffy. The bikers doing that is going to be mean. Dreadnoughts doing that is going to be mean. Anybody really.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. I think I've said this before on the podcast. This is the ability that Death Watch bikers have in the current index, and let me tell you, it's fun. It's a lot of fun to do.
Well, and again, like I was saying in the last podcast, you've got just these cool Mongol bikers just doing huge rooster tail power slides.
Yeah, although I don't know how they cook their meat. I guess they can put it on their engine.
Yeah, just put it on the engine. Also, I don't think they eat meat.
They definitely eat meat.
No. These guys do, yeah.
Yeah, these guys do.
For anyone out there wondering why we're talking about Mongols and their meat, Mongols would put strips of beef or any animal,
horse mostly.
Yeah, horse, in between their saddle and their horse, and the salt from the sweat of the horse and the friction and the heat of riding it would cure it. So then they would just take out the nasty horsehair covered salt sweat meat, and they would eat that. A lot of people probably died from gross things.
I don't know. I think it would be really tasty. You're talking about basically salted jerky.
You're going to get something.
Why?
You're going to get worms. Dude, it's been meat that's been on the back of a horse for an entire battle.
I'd eat it. They conquered 3/4 of that continent, man. They're not, suffering logistics problems.
I was going to say, no one talks about Mongolian cuisine, but they totally do, and it's totally delicious.
It is totally delicious.
You want to go for Mongolian barbecue someday?
Yeah, definitely. Mongolian barbecue. I got a list of things once I finish school and get a job.
Yeah.
So I'm going to move on to Black Templars. This one is simple. You can reroll failed charge units. Simple, effective, Black Templars-y.
Yep.
Get into the fight. It's called Righteous Zeal. Don't have a lot to say to that.
Man.
That's awesome for dreadnoughts.
That's awesome for everything.
Yeah.
And if you build your list, you're going to build an assault list if you're running Black Templars. If you're not, you're a bad person.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just going to be really, really good. And it'll always come in handy. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Then we're going to go on to Salamanders.
The Sallies.
Salamanders, I think this one is a sleeper, really good one.
Yeah, because it's kind of like a free command point per unit for reroll. Yeah, I like it.
You can reroll a single failed hit roll, and a single failed wound roll each time it shoots or fights. So that's cool. Every unit has one mastercrafted shred weapon now. That's so good. You need that melta gun to go off. That melta gun goes off.
You need that meltagun to wound because you rolled a 1 when you're firing it at, somebody's warlord.
That melting gun gets another 1.
I really feel that this is a fantastic chapter tactic. You're right, on the surface it doesn't feel powerful, but we love command points.
Yeah.
I love having that reroll in the shooting phase. And now you're saying that each infantry, biker, and dreadnought unit has basically, like I said, a free command point reroll for both to hit and to shoot.
Yeah.
I love it. Connor,
You
don't complain. Your Ashbringers, Connor runs a custom chapter called the Ashbringers. He uses them as salamanders.
Mm-hmm. They're cool looking.
They're great looking. I'm not looking forward to facing them, especially when you use Vulcan in the list as well.
Yeah, no, that's not cool. You want to tell us about Raven Guard real quick?
So Raven Guard, I love.
Mm-hmm.
If I were ever to play a Space Marine army that's not Death Watch, it would definitely be Raven Guard, and I would definitely get a lot of those Reavers.
Yeah.
Raven Guard Reavers are the best. So this is a great one. This pairs really, really well with the Raven Guard stratagem that we're going to get into when we discuss stratagems. So just keep an eye out for that. So the rule is your opponent must subtract 1 from any hit rolls when shooting at Raven Guard units with this tactic if they are more than 12 inches away.
That's really good.
It is really good.
So first turn, you want to get your full ballistic skill shots off. You got a deep strike in. If you are fighting Raven Guard, that's danger close because every second unit's going to have a jump pack. You're a very survivable army all of a sudden.
Oh, you're making people overheat on 1s and 2s with fire and plasma at you?
That's really funny to me.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, he's moving fast or he's covered in shadows. My gun exploded.
So this is interesting. This is a very much a defensive chapter tactic that works very well with an aggressive army.
Mm-hmm. And the fun thing is that 12 inches, they close that gap in 1 turn.
Yeah, because most of them should have jump packs.
Mm-hmm. They're in your face. Like, that's the thing. They're hard to hit, and then they're just all up ins.
And then, wait, like I said, wait for the stratagem that pairs well with this. So, Paul, Mr. Fist Fowler.
Mr. Fist Fowler.
I'm going to let you... No. You're going to. I'm not going to let you do anything.
No one lets me do nothing. Imperial Fists. They're Siege Masters. This one is, on the surface, not as good as the rest. So, enemy units do not receive the benefit of their saving throws for being in cover from shooting attacks made by Imperial Fists. That's not huge with the changes to cover. If this were a 7th edition rule, this would be huge. This would be getting around your 2-up rerollable Jinx saves. This would be getting around Venom Thorps. Now, not so much. Do Venom Thorps give cover now?
I think they're -1 to hit.
Yeah, see,
There's something weird.
I'm hoping that this becomes a better stratagem, or a better chapter tactic. As it stands, I'll take it, because it'll be really nice not to be shooting at 2-up tactical marines.
Honestly, this one is really dependent on the table you're playing on. If there isn't area terrain, it's useless.
Yep.
It's 100% useless.
Yes, I agree.
But if you're playing City Fight, it's
crazy
really good.
Yeah, so get ready for me to play a lot of City Fight. And like a lot of the other ones, additionally, you can reroll any failed wounds for Imperial Fist units with this tactic when they're targeting buildings.
Yeah, they put the terrible 1 second on this one.
Yeah, they were just like, we're so sorry. Like, who cares about shooting a building?
I don't know.
Have you ever done it in a game?
Yeah.
I don't think I have. I've never shot a building.
I don't know. Have I?
Right?
Not a lot of people run fortifications in our gaming group. I've fought them at Astro before. I completely ignored them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's it.
At this point, I would just shoot. Like, if a fortification comes down, I'm gonna shoot it just to get that. Yeah. Like, just to be like, look what I'm doing. But that being said, Imperial Fists, we're just gonna take it and look stern and dramatic.
Yeah. So Paul kind of gave away the last one here. So this is Iron Hands. Connor's ecstatic about this one. This is a very good one. Again, it's very defensive, but it's also extremely fluffy. Oh, you know what this is?
What?
This is the old Bionics rule from like 2nd or 3rd edition. It's exactly the old Bionics rule from 2nd or 3rd edition. So roll a dice each time an Iron Hands model with this tactic loses a wound. On a 6, the damage is ignored, and the model does not lose a wound. This is where it's worded properly. The damage is ignored. We talked about this last podcast. This is how all of these abilities should be written.
Right.
The damage is ignored. Not
Exactly.
the wound is ignored. The damage is ignored.
So you... Wait, no. It still doesn't make sense.
The damage is ignored, and the model does not lose a wound. Because if something does 2 damage, you're rolling 2d6. You roll 1/6. That damage is ignored. You still suffer the damage from the other one.
Nope.
No?
No.
You're just saying no.
No, here's the thing. You're rolling a dice. So there's a bunch of wounds.
Yeah.
And then the damage from those wounds gets ignored. So you're not rolling for damage. You're rolling for each wound. So you have to keep track of what wound does what damage.
No. It says when a model loses a wound. So if you have 6 wounds, you get hit with a las cannon. That does 6 damage.
Right.
So you roll a 6. You have lost 6 wounds. You roll 66 on a 6. A point of damage is ignored.
Roll a dice each time you lose a wound.
Yes, because...
Not when you take 1 damage.
Yeah, when you lose a wound. Not when you suffer a wound. When you lose a wound. Off of your characteristics profile.
So you can... The way that you're saying it, you can only ever ignore 1 damage from multi-damage.
No. What I'm saying, so you take your chapter master, whatever. You have 6 wounds to start. You get hit with the las cannon. It succeeds in its 2 wound roll, which means...
Okay, yes. Nope.
Paul's got it.
I was wrong.
It's okay. So I'll finish that thought for everybody out there. So if you roll a d6 for the damage from a las cannon, you do 6 damage with the las cannon. Your chapter master has now lost 6 wounds. So now you roll 66, and on any roll of a 6, that damage or wound is ignored. Now this is maybe hit points? Health? I don't know.
Anything.
Nope, I agree. This ruling is confusing.
It's probably my biggest beef right now with 8th edition. Which I guess isn't so bad.
I've never seen, and if anybody out there listening has seen an ability like this, please let me know, where you actually ignore the wound and not the damage.
Yeah.
Right? So if I fire a meltagun at you, I wound. There's an ability that allows you to just ignore that wound before I even roll the damage.
It's called an invulnerable save, but
Fair. Yeah, that's fair.
But, I think it's an important distinction. We have belabored this, but this is not a 6-up invulnerable save. This is a 6-up ignore damage. That is what... And maybe this wasn't difficult for you out there in podcast land, but it was a little bit... It was one of those things where I was like, oh man, I was riding my bike worried about it. I was just in the shower just being like, so wait, what does it do? Now I got it. Also, I was stretching time, so Nick could count the stratagems.
I'm glad you picked up on that. So, we're moving into stratagems. There are a total of 26 stratagems specifically for Space Marines.
Get out.
Can you get some more time? I want to count each individual chapter's stratagems. No, I'm kidding.
I think they get one each.
There's 26 stratagems. No, there's a couple different ones in here.
What?
Yeah. So,
okay.
Oh, maybe not. Maybe everybody does get one. Imperial Fist, Iron Hand, Black Templars, Salamanders, Raven Guard.
Yeah, no, it's one. I checked.
It's one each.
Yeah.
You checked? Okay. There are 26 stratagems in this book. So if your army is battle forged and includes any Space Marine detachments, you have access to the stratagems here and can spend command points to activate them. These are really cool.
Yep.
So
this is this is how they're going to do taxes. This is how you get a battle forged. Like you force battle forges.
Yep. So we're just going to touch on a couple because there are 26 and we can't be here all day because I do have to be up early tomorrow.
I just get up early to do yoga. So stretchy, you guys.
I gotta go to school tomorrow. So.
All right. Well.
So the first one is the line break and bombardment. Now you guys might remember this from a formation from 7th edition. So use this stratagem in your shooting phase if a Vindicator is within 6 inches of 2 other friendly chapter Vindicators. If you do so, the Vindicators cannot fire their Demolisher cannons. Instead, select a visible point on the battlefield within 24 inches of all 3 vehicles. Roll a dice for each unit, friend or foe, within 3 inches of that point. Add +1 to the result if the unit being rolled for has 10 or more models, but subtract 1 if the unit has been rolled for of its character. On a 4+, 3+ if the unit has 10 or more models, 5+ if it's a character, that unit suffers 3d3 mortal wounds.
You are going to see this for chaos.
And this is 1 command point.
That's the thing. The weighting
You're still buying 3 Vindicators.
True. But I think what I'll go ahead and talk about the one that I want to so we can compare these. Chapter Master is one that costs 3 command points. At the beginning of the game, you swap out keywords. So you take one captain, you make him a Chapter Master, and now instead of re-rolling ones, you're re-rolling all misses. So that's
within 6 inches.
Within 6 inches. That's still only your 1s and 2s because the way that re-rolls work, it's before modifiers. So
+1 to hit, all that stuff doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Or -1 to hit for flying units.
So if you're -1 to hit and you roll a 3 and you hit on 3s, you don't get to re-roll that.
Right.
That is bananas. I don't like the way that functions. I like the way that it functions in certain cases. But that's 3 command points right off the start. So that's your battalion. Done.
Yeah. That's your base 3.
Yeah, that's your base 3. Out. That's crazy. I don't feel like that's balanced against causing 3d3 mortal wounds, but maybe it is. If someone wants to argue with me,
call them at 416-289-5555.
Yeah, just meet me at Nick's house.
What?
What? Yeah, no, we're gonna fight here.
All right, I got your back, bro.
I like that you can. Thanks, dude. I like that you can slip in a Chapter Master. I don't think this is the way it should have been done.
I don't think it's worth 3 command points.
It's not worth 3, and it kind of just sucks that you can't run a straight up Chapter Master like a bog one anymore.
Yeah, because you're only a Space Marine list at 1,500 points. You're maybe looking at 6 command points total for the list. That's half of your command points gone.
Honestly, you can fit a Vanguard detachment in anywhere with Space Marines. The amount of...
You need 2 HQs and 3
elites
troops for a battalion detachment. True. That's a lot of points.
That is a lot. Yeah, no, you're right.
Because then you have to buy another HQ, 3 units of elites. Yeah, it's tough. The 1,500 points isn't a lot.
The 3 units of elites isn't hard to get to anymore.
No, but having a Vanguard detachment as your primary detachment, that's pretty easy to do now.
Mm-hmm. But I just that was the one. It's right at the top. I looked at it. I was like, this is going to be a terrible list. I was wrong, but that one hurts my feelings.
So now we're going to talk about 2 stratagems. And I would just like to point out one thing, because this has been a point that I've noticed a couple players not getting correct in the point of their game. So the same stratagem cannot be used by the same player more than once during any single phase. You can use any number of stratagems during any phase as long as they're not the same stratagem.
Right. So you can't spend a point to reroll 2 hits, but you can spend a point to reroll a hit and reroll a wound.
No.
Wait, what?
Because it's the same stratagem.
Oh, same stratagem?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
So that stratagem that you mentioned is just reroll a dice. You can't do that more than once per phase.
Okay.
But, for example, you can do the line breaker and the reroll and the... I don't know, another one.
Another one.
We'll do the masterful marksmanship, which is the one I'm going to talk about right now.
Oh, okay.
This is going to pair very well with the one that Paul's going to talk about right after me.
Yeah.
So use this stratagem when a Stern Guard veteran squad is selected to attack in the shooting phase. You can add 1 to all its wound rolls made for that unit's special issue bolt gun attacks in that phase. This is a special issue bolt gun. This thing's got -2 AP.
It's so brutal. This thing, like, you're wounding land raiders on 5s.
You're wounding vehicles on 4s. You're wounding guard, Tau
on 2s.
2s.
Yeah.
You're wounding other Marines on 3s. This is really good, guys.
This one, so this kind of takes the Vengeance round and the Kraken round and kind of puts them together from 7th edition. This is actually one where they took a rule that was in the bog standard. Well, not bog standard. They took a rule that was in the unit profile and then made it a stratagem.
Yep.
I don't mind this change as much.
It's also only 1 command point.
Exactly. So this is like the kind of stuff where I'm like, this doesn't seem super balanced. But I really, really like this one. And also, I'm someone who runs Sternguard and has always loved Sternguard.
Stern vets?
Stern vets. They're my boys. At this point, I think I might do another unit of them.
Oh, in that the Salt Company colors?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You need to do that.
But you can also use, in addition to the Masterful Marksmanship, you can bust out the Imperial Fist Bolter Drill on this one. So that's the Imperial Fist stratagem. This one kind of makes up, for me, this makes up for the chapter tactic. So you use this stratagem before an Imperial Fist infantry unit attacks in the shooting phase. And for every 6 or more that you get, the model firing the bolt weapon can immediately make another hit roll using the same weapon at the same target. So
It's not an auto hit.
it's not an auto hit, which
But it's not bad. This is very similar to the Death of the False Emperor rule.
so this one I like. It applies to all bolt weapons, so that's gonna be big.
So that's bolt gun, bolt rifle, heavy bolter, bolt storm gauntlet, Pedro Cantor's Dorn's arrow is also a bolt weapon. Mind you, this is only infantry,
Yep.
but
You can't bust it out on dreadnoughts, which kind of makes me sad.
But you can bust it out on Centurions armed with hurricane
You
bolters.
sure can.
Oh boy.
Or bolt storm gauntlets.
Yeah,
It's got bolt in the name.
it's true.
So this one, it's not gonna like break your.
What about Avenger Heavy Mega Bolter?
But just say you're running someone like Pedro Cantor who adds +1 to your hits. Oh no!
Yeah, because now
right?
you're getting additional things on a 5-up.
Yeah.
And you pair this with the Masterful Marksmanship rule.
Mm-hmm.
Now you've got hitting on any hit 6s is an extra hit.
Yeah.
Well, potential extra hit.
So like these two combined with like the right character, you're going to bolter shell the hell out of whatever you want.
I think we're gonna see. This adds a very new depth to 40k. Using stratagems effectively when they're most needed and pairing them up with each other is going to become a skill that will win you games. Otherwise, you will lose.
You're gonna see so many people just saying like, "You just activated my trap card," and just yeah, I know.
Okay,
That's fine. We're millennials. What wouldn't you? We'll do like what? 2 more?
I've got 3.
Okay, let's do 3 more.
Okay, so the first one the third one, third one that I want to talk about
Next
is
one?
machine empathy.
Yeah.
So this is really cool. So use this stratagem just before. This is Iron Hand specific, by the way. So use this stratagem just before an Iron Hand's vehicle attacks in the shooting phase. Until the end of that phase, that vehicle can ignore the penalties for moving and firing a heavy weapon, or for advancing and firing assault weapons. Now your dreadnoughts, your Contemptor dreadnoughts, are moving their full thing and hitting on 2s.
Yeah, that's so big.
And that's 1 command point.
Also, the idea of taking like flamers on your Contemptor now makes a lot of sense because he can shoot happily with.
You would be able to.
Yeah, no. Well, multi-gun stay.
Yeah.
Or anything really.
Yeah.
That's a really good one. I really enjoy that. You're just going to see a bunch of dreadnoughts become Tom Brady's and just break lines like it ain't no thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, that I'm digging that one. I'm sure Connor has like a bunch of really great.
He's got some combos built up for this one for sure.
Yeah, that guy gets so pumped.
I know.
It's so fun to just like listen to this guy talk.
If you want to get really, really like Inception, I'm gonna message Connor right now.
Oh, are we doing it?
Yeah.
Guys, hey, we're talking about you right now. You know what's weird? He's going to be at work on Friday listening to
I
this.
spelled his name wrong.
How do you spell Connor? It's got 2 N's?
Doesn't have an E.
What? I can't help it. You got dumb fingers.
That's true.
Then what's the next one we want to talk to? Okay, yeah, no, the Empiric... I can never pronounce anything.
Empiric. So this is essentially
Empiric channeling. So basically, you use this at the start of a psychic phase, and an Adeptus Astartes Psyker, so a librarian or a Primaris librarian or your Tigerius, within 6 inches of at least 2 other friendly chapter Psykers, they can immediately attempt to manifest 1 additional psychic power this turn. When attempting to manifest this power, you add 2 to the psychic test.
this is essentially the Librarius Conclave.
Yep.
In a stratagem.
Mm-hmm. It's 1 command point, which is good.
Yeah.
And I like this one well enough.
You have to take 3 Psykers for this.
Yeah. So I feel like this is a legacy thing where we're talking about how stratagems have now taken the place of the old formations. So in addition to taking these models, there's also attacks on top of it of your command points. So that's kind of where it's at right now. The other one that I kind of want to call out real quick is Wisdom of the Ancients, and this is a dreadnought. You spend 1 command point at the start of any phase, select a dreadnought, and within 6 inches, you re-roll all hits of 1
For that chapter.
Until the end of the phase. That one's really good. You can do it at the start of the shooting phase. You're re-rolling your hits for shooting. You can do the start of the assault phase. You're re-rolling your hits.
Yeah, for 1 command point, you're basically turning your Space Marine dreadnought into a miniature captain.
Uh-huh.
I like it.
Like I do like the idea of just story time booming over a dreadnought speaker, where it's like, one time I was fighting orcs like this, and they're like, that's a really applicable thing right now.
That makes sense.
Yeah, like I like that one. That was one that I just wanted to squeeze in there.
That's fair. So the last one we're going to talk about is, I think, one of the best stratagems in here.
Yeah.
Now, this is another interesting part. So earlier I was talking about how you can only use 1 stratagem. You can only use 1 of each type of stratagem per phase. The rule goes on to say this does not affect stratagems that are not used during a battle, such as those used before the battle begins or at the end of a battle round. This is Strike from the Shadows for Raven Guard. So use this stratagem when you set up a Raven Guard unit during deployment. You can spend 1 command point to set up a Raven Guard infantry unit in the Shadows, which is kind of a weird place to set them up, instead of placing it on the battlefield. Of the beginning of the first battle round, but before the first turn begins, the unit emerges from hiding. Set them anywhere on the battlefield that is more than 9 inches away from enemy models. So you can spend 1 command point and give infiltrate to any infantry unit. You can spend 2 units gain it 3. You can use this as many times as you want as you have command points.
Wait, how come?
Because
of the way that it pairs with... Sorry.
So this does not affect stratagems that are not used during a battle. So this stratagem happens before the game begins. Mm-hmm. You are getting aggressors, centurions, reavers, terminators.
Just like picture a bunch of hellblasters like taking shrouds off their plasma coils.
Yeah.
Because they've been hiding like in doorways and stuff.
That is such a cool rule. You better be going first.
Yup.
Even not though, because like the Hellblasters or Devastator squads, you spend one command point and then you put them exactly where they need to be before the battle begins. This allows you to be flexible. This allows you to be, take your opponent off guard and correct any mistakes you made during deployment. I like this one a lot.
Well, no, you don't redeploy them.
But that's what I mean.
It counts as a drop, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But like I really like this one just because I can distraction card effects if I wanted to. Yeah. I can take a Contemptor, I can put him within 12 inches of you, and all of a sudden he is in threat range. Yeah. And it's going to be bad if you don't pay attention to it.
Yeah, well, I mean, technically you could do this with a character.
Mm-hmm. You could do it with, say, a special character.
Like Shrike?
Yeah, like Shrike.
Shrike's got his own rules.
Yeah, he's good. But yeah, so those are the call-out stratagems that we wanted to talk about.
There's more. There's some weird ones. Paul had a very good point before we started recording that none of the Space Marine ones are super, super good, but Space Marines are jack of all trades, right?
That's the thing. Like, a Space Marine gets it done better than... Like, I think the idea of a Space Marine army, for me, has always been, I can do most things better than your army can. Your army's going to outpace me in, like, one or two areas. Everything else, I will be better. That's sort of the feeling that I've always had playing Space Marines, and I think they've kind of drilled down into that, and that's been the design ethos ever since around 4th edition.
Oh, for sure. So we're going to move into Warlord traits now. We're back to the 6 Warlord traits. Mm-hmm. We're picking Warlord traits now. There ain't no more rolling. That's great. You know what I completely forgot about? Is psychic powers, but I don't want to touch on psychic powers.
Yeah.
If you guys wanted to learn the psychic powers for Space Marines, they are on page 202 of the Codex. We're not going to talk about them today.
Yeah, and like they're good.
Yeah, they're pretty good. Mm-hmm. So we're just going to blow through these quickly because we've got a bunch of other stuff we want to talk about. 1, Angel of Death. Subtract 1 from the leadership characteristics of enemy units that are within 6 inches of your warlords.
They're so spooky.
I'm not a huge fan. Next.
Imperium Sword. Reroll failed charges with your warlord. In addition, if your warlord charges in the charge phase, add 1 to his attack characteristics until the end of the fight phase.
Not bad.
Pretty good.
Yep. Iron Resolve. Add +1 to the wound characteristics of your warlord. In addition, roll a dice each time your warlord loses a wound. On a roll of a 6, your warlord shrugs off the damages, does not lose the wound. Again, poor wording on the rule. I do like this warlord trait.
Yes, I will probably be running this one the most, as it is the most Imperial Fisty one to me. Yep. Storm of Fire. Each time you roll a wound of 6 or more with a friendly chapter within 6 inches of the warlord in the shooting phase, armor penetration characteristics of this attack is increased by 1, i.e. AP 0 becomes AP -1. Also pretty brutal.
Yeah, this is like pseudo-rending.
Yep.
Rights of War. Friendly chapter units within 6 inches of your warlord automatically pass morale tests. Not big for Space Marines.
Nope.
It seems good on the cover, but the fact that you are usually Leadership 8, rerolling failed morale tests, there are better warlord traits out here, unless you're running units of like 20 guys.
Mm-hmm. So this one would be okay for Black Templars.
Yeah.
Champions of Humanity. Add 1 to all hit and wound rolls made for your warlord in the fight phase when targeting enemy characters. Not good. Don't take it.
Yep. So moving on to, there are chapter-specific warlord traits. Mm-hmm. And also character-specific one. This one's actually really good. I missed this one.
The Ultramarines
one is so good.
This is why when we get to the Imperial Fist one, this is why I've been salty all week.
All right. So, Adept of the Codex. While your warlord is alive, roll a dice each time you spend a command point to use a stratagem. On a 5+, that command point is immediately refunded. Question, if you use 3 command points, do you roll 3 dice, and on a 5+, you get a command point?
Nope. Each time you spend a command point, so you roll for each one.
So 3. Mm-hmm. So if I spend 3 to upgrade someone to be a chapter master, does that work before the game? There's some issues here. Don't know how that's going to work.
He's still alive, I guess. Well, White Scars, Deadly Hunter. Roll a dice each time your warlord finishes a charge move within 1 inch of an enemy unit. On a 4+, that unit suffers a mortal wound.
Not too shabby.
Yeah, it's basically turbo Hammer of Wrath.
Yeah, definitely Hammer of Wrath. Okay, Paul, go for a twofer.
Friendly Imperial Fist units within 6 inches of your warlord that are receiving the benefit of cover add an additional 1 to their saving throws against attacks with an AP characteristic of -1. Enjoy your algebra. Like, that's so dumb.
Yeah,
it's such a, like...
That's complicated.
It's complicated and conditional and...
Not fun. Crimson Fist, tenacious opponent. If there are at least 10 enemy models within 6 inches of your warlord when he fights in the fight phase, add D3 to his attacks. I don't like it. It's just D3 extra attacks. Not a fan.
Yeah, I don't love that one. It's basically orc fighters.
Yeah.
Black Templars, Oathkeeper. Your warlord can perform a heroic intervention for enemies that are within 6 inches rather than a normal 3. Also, you can move up to 6 inches as opposed to 3. That one I really like, just because I've had heroic intervention being like, am I within 3? No. So the idea of like a Black Templar High Marshal just calling a shot, pointing at it like a dude across the battlefield and be like, I am going to kill him so much.
And then just running into combat?
Yeah.
Salamanders, Anvil of Strength. Add +1 to the strength characteristics of your warlord. Interesting question. How do Power Fists work now? So if you're adding +1 to the strength characteristics and you have your guy with the Power Fist, is he now strength 10?
Yes, he is.
Makes sense to me. That's pretty good if you're giving him the right stuff.
Because it's not bed miss. It's straight up adding to the characteristic. It's not adding to the strength of the weapon.
Yes.
Raven Guard. Enemy units cannot fire Overwatch at your warlord. Charge Hellblasters with impunity.
Oh, God. Charge Noise Marines with impunity.
Yep.
Charge
anything
with flamethrowers. And Iron Hands. Merciless Logic. Each time you roll to hit roll for your warlord, make 1 extra attack at the same target using the same weapon. Not bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lasers coming out of a Thunderhammer?
Sure.
Zap.
Why not? So the Space Marines, so that's it for warlord traits. There's some good ones in there, some that are not so good. It'll be interesting to see what kind of combinations people come up for their warlord traits and stratagems.
And it's important to mention that you don't have to take your chapter-specific one if you don't want to.
Right, but you can't take Black Templars if you're Imperial Fists.
Correct.
So the way that relics work now are very interesting. So each relic has rules for it. It also specifically describes what it replaces. So you don't actually pay points for relics. You get 1 free relic. You pay 1 command point if you want to take 2 relics in your army, and you pay 3 command points if you want to take 3 relics in your army. Now you can't include more than one relic on any character.
Right.
So a good example here is the Teeth of Terra.
So love this one.
Yeah.
We'll be running this one all the time.
So this replaces a model's chainsword, so it's basically free. You're not paying any points. Pretty good. Strength +1, AP -2, damage 2. Awesome. Another good example, Shield Eternal.
Also, we need to talk about its abilities. Each time the bearer fights, it can make an additional D3 attacks. I love this one. This is, the Teeth of Terra is what Dorn's chainsword is called. I am going to be running this one. Just so you know, I need to find a really fancy...
chainsword.
Yep.
The other one is the one I want to talk about is the Shield Eternal. Basically replaces a Storm Shield or Combat Shield for that character. It provides the character with a 3-up invulnerable save, and you have all damage against it.
That's so good.
Yep.
Like, when I want to be running my my Alexis Pollux in 40k, you're going to be seeing him with that.
Yeah.
The other one that I want to call out, which is one that kind of is lackluster compared to the Teeth of Terra, is the Burning Blade. I shouldn't say lackluster.
Yeah.
But it's, you replace a power sword or a master crafted power sword, and this is +2 strength, -5 AP, but just 1 damage.
Which means you are paying for the master crafted power sword.
Yes. But you don't get it's not master crafted.
Master crafted just does 2 damage now.
Yeah. This is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So you're just paying for a higher strength, -5 AP. And -5 is crazy.
That is really good. It's like volcano cannon level.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet.
But it's 1 damage.
That's where it gets you. But I mean, that's 5 attacks. It's good. It's not bad.
Yeah.
But the Tooth of Terror is definitely better.
Especially for how much you're paying for it.
Yeah. Lots of relics in here. Again, interested to see how people tool up their guys.
I do just want to go to, because this is our podcast, so we're going to talk about the Imperial Fist real quick.
We already did. Teeth of Terra.
Okay. Yeah. No. That's not Imperial Fist.
All right.
They have a special one called the Spartian, which essentially is a purpose-built character killer.
Yep.
It replaces a bolt pistol, and it can target characters. It fires twice. It's strength 4, AP -1, and does 2 damage.
That's hilarious.
That's so funny to me. That's like just going to be such a bad surprise. Like, I kind of want to just sneak that in somewhere and be like, no. And like, he's going to be shooting it.
It just replaces the bolt pistol.
Yeah. He's going to be shooting it in combat.
Yeah, that's a pistol.
I will probably pay the... Oh, no, you can't give it to 2 guys. You can't give 2 to 1 guy. Because I would love to just do the Spartian and Teeth of Terra on 1 guy.
That would be hilarious.
Right?
Yep. So that's it for a lot of the rules, warlord traits, relics, and new abilities that come with Space Marines. There's a lot of new units in this codex. Most of them, actually all of them, are Primaris.
Yeah.
We already mentioned the Hellblasters. We've talked about the Astronaut Spacemen before on the podcast. Essentially, for the HQs, the Primaris just got a counterpart from the regular Marines.
Right.
Nothing too crazy to talk about there. Obviously, I think they got an increase in the wound, and I think 1 more attack.
Yeah, so you've got your spooky chaplain. He comes in Primaris flavor. An apothecary does. That's actually one of the coolest models they put out, the apothecary.
Yep.
You got a Primaris captain, you got a Primaris librarian. No Primaris tech marine.
Didn't notice that. That is weird.
Yeah, right?
Yep.
I guess, like, eat it, Mars. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I don't think Mars is too happy with... Because I don't think Call's teaching tech marines.
No. Call's just gone full call power, and he's doing whatever he wants.
Yeah. So we're just going to pick out a few cool new units that have come out. Mm-hmm. So, Paul, why don't you start us off? Actually, fine, I'll start us off.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to talk to you about the Hovatank, also known as the Repulsor. Talked about this before on the podcast. I've seen new angles of it. I still don't like it.
You know what? I said I would reserve judgment. Maybe I did, or maybe I said I liked it. I don't like this model. Like,
we'll see. Maybe you'll reserve it again.
Yeah.
Until you see the model in person.
But like the pictures, I'm not digging it.
No. So this is basically a Land Raider that has a 3-up save.
Yeah.
So a repulsor this is going to go on for a while. A repulsor is a single model equipped with a heavy onslaught Gatling cannon, a twin heavy bolter, an iron hail heavy stubber, an Icarus iron hail heavy stubber. That's not easy to say. 2 Crackstorm grenade launchers, 2 storm bolters, and 2 auto launchers. Lots of new weapons in here, and if I go into the war gear options, we're going to be here for another 5 minutes. I don't know what this thing wants to be. Is it a transport? Is it a gunship? Is it an anti-tank thing?
Maybe. Like that's the thing. It's maybe to all of them.
Yeah. So it's got Power of the Machine Spirit. It's got a repulsor field, so you subtract 2 if you're trying to charge it. It's got smoke launchers, which are called auto launchers.
Which, just stop doing that,
Just call it
GW.
smoke launchers.
Yeah.
The only thing that is really special about it is so far it's the only model that can transport Primaris infantry.
Yeah, that's a pretty big one, honestly. And I think more than anything, it's trying to be a transport, which it is. And it's trying to be a support transport. So imagine a Rhino and a Razorback kind of squished together.
That's Rhino and a Land Raider.
Yeah. Because it's how many wounds does it have? Like 16?
And a lot of guns.
It's bristling with weapons. And it can deal with all comers too, right? Like...
it's got a Las Talon, which is a 24-inch twin-linked Las cannon. Yeah, it's got some cool stuff.
I like it as a concept. I don't like the model. I like how it's armed. Like, it makes sense to me that if you're making the Primaris Marines so singular of task,
Yeah.
that having their delivery system kind of make up any deficiencies that they have on the tabletop sort of makes sense. I haven't really said that you can't sneak a Power Fist into Intercessor's squad.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
Yeah.
That's weird.
But that's it. Maybe it would take too long to cut all the sprues.
That's true. So what are you going to talk about?
I'm going to talk about probably going to become one of my favorite units in my army is the Aggressor Squads. They are cool as heck. So they're in Gravis armor, so they're toughness 5. They have a 3-up save. But more than that, they're armed with a Bolt Storm Gauntlet and a Frag Storm Grenade Launcher.
They're only armed with one Bolt Storm Gauntlet, right?
They're armed with Bolt Storm Gauntlets,
Okay.
which is one entry. So it's not 2 Bolt Storm Gauntlets.
Right.
Aren't those models just so cool, though?
Yeah, they do look really cool.
We're just looking at them on the GW site, and I think they're going to look really good in chipped up yellow. But the thing is, the Bolt Storm Gauntlets, they're Assault 6. They are paired with the Frag Storm Grenade Launcher, which is Assault D6. So they're at the fewest amount of shots that they're getting at 18 inches is 7. The most they're getting, obviously, is 12. There's 3 of them in the basic squad. They're turning out a lot of firepower. Throw in a stratagem, they're turning out a ton of firepower.
They're bolt guns.
Yep.
So Paul gets to use his bolter drill.
Mm-hmm. They're a mean squad. They can be bumped up to 6. They start at 3. I think this is just like a really, really rad unit. They have Bolt Storm or Flame Storm, Frag Storm, Flame Storm Gauntlets. Thanks GW for making all the synonyms great. But they have Flame Storm Gauntlets, which is Assault 2d6. It's only 8 inches, and it's got the same profile as a bolter. It automatically hits its target. I don't know why you would ever be switching these out.
No, we talked about this before the podcast. I don't get it.
Yeah, it's not good. Because without...
No, we talked about this. You're looking at a range from 12
to
2 shots. Auto hitting, fair enough, at 8 inches of range. Probably average of 7 hits. But you're only 8 inches of range.
Yeah. I don't understand the why you would ever switch those. They do only have a 5-inch movement. However, they have a relentless advance, so they don't suffer the penalty for advancing and firing assault weapons, which all their weapons are.
Which is really good.
Yeah.
So you've got the... So I'm figuring out what you're going to do already. You're obviously going to run them up, advance them, and then blow things away with the bolter drill with them. Because you're talking about anywhere from 7 to 12 shots a guy times 3, so that's anywhere from 21 to 36 shots a turn.
Yeah. I like that.
Yep.
I like it.
It's really good.
Yeah, and Firestorm, here's the thing. The other ability they have, so if they didn't advance, if they didn't move, they can just fire twice.
So now we're looking at 41 to 72 shots.
I love these dudes. They are basically hurricane bolters on legs. They're going to be so much fun.
Yeah.
For me, for no one else.
Do you have another rule?
Yeah, they can be combat squatted.
Oh, and they can advance without penalty. You say that already?
Yep.
Oh, sorry.
We covered that.
I'm tired.
It's alright.
Last thing I'm going to talk about is the Redemptor Dreadnought. These things are cool. They're actually pretty cheap as far as points go.
Yeah, that was something that I meant to look up. I'm glad you did it.
They're 140 points base. I didn't look at how much their weapons are. So they're pretty good. So this is just a big daddy Dreadnought. Not quite as big as a Leviathan. A little bit bigger than a Contemptor.
Mm-hmm. Hitting on 3s, though.
Hitting on 3s. Yeah, it's not a Contemptor. It's not super elite. It's got some fun stuff. It's got the new Heavy Onslaught Gatling Cannon, which is heavy 12, basically a heavy 12, 30-inch range heavy bolter. So that's strength 5, AP -1. I think you can end up like slapping on 2 Onslaught Gatling cannons, which are kind of like the miniature one.
Can you do 2?
Replace its heavy flamer with an Onslaught Gatling cannon, and replace its...
Yeah, so it can do 2.
Well, it can do 1 heavy and 1 regular.
Yeah.
So you're looking at 18 shots at 24, so not bad. Yeah, it's got a Redemptor Fist that does D6 damage. So you're looking at Strength 14, AP -3, D6 damage in combat with 4 attacks.
I gotta tell you, I like the flat D3 of a Dreadnought Fist more.
Yeah, well, the flat 3, or as we talked about before, if you're looking at the Ironclad Dreadnought, a flat 5 for the Seismic Hammer. You're subtracting 1 to hit, but I'll make 5 damage automatically.
Yeah, and I just think that being able to depend on 3 damage from me has been so clutch in so many games that I've done.
Yep. That's why I love Thunderhammers.
Yeah. So I don't think that the D6 is going to win any hearts and minds.
No, but I think the D6 really comes into effect when you're like putting out multiple attacks.
Yeah,
You've got 4 attacks, hitting on 3s. You know, you can do that Wisdom of the Ancient thing, and now you're hitting on 3s, re-rolling 1s.
True.
D6 damage. When you're putting out that many rolls, obviously the more dice you roll, the higher the chance of getting a 6 you have.
Yeah.
Don't need to explain that to people out there.
No, you guys know that 5 is more than 3, right?
Yeah.
One thing I do have to say is, are we done talking about the Dread? Do you have any more points?
I have no more points.
Okay, tactical squads, they're still your toolbox. They're still they shine for me. They always will. I hope that they don't go away in the way that they're kitted out.
Well, especially with objectives secured, man.
Yeah, it's really good. And then the one character that I want to call out, and I sort of mentioned him before. I've been really into the Crimson Fists. Maybe I should do my Primaris' Crimson Fists. But Pedro Cantor, he got bumped up to...
Vote for Pedro.
Yeah, vote for Pedro, because he got really bumped up. So before he kind of had captain stats while being the chapter master. Now he's got his 2-up save that he's supposed to have. He's hitting on 2s. He's got 6 wounds, so he's no slouch. But you can reroll failed to hit, failed to hits for units within 6 inches of him, and all friendly Crimson Fist models add 1 to their attack characteristics.
It's really good.
Yep, he is, as he should be, a guy that is stuck right in the middle. I really like the bonuses to his character. Lysander, nothing really changed for him between the Index and the Codex.
He's got a strength and Thunderhammer.
He sure does. That thing just crumps faces. And you add 1 to the leadership of Imperial Fist within 6 inches. He can teleport, and you reroll 1s for shots. Yeah. Oh, actually, all hits. So, yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it for our review of the Space Marine Codex. I'm really looking forward to playing Paul. I'd like you to build an army out of this. Now, the question is, will you let me take my Chaos Legion tactics before the Codex comes out?
You know I won't.
I know he won't. So for fun time... we're going to talk about the 2 previews that Games Workshop has released for Chaos Space Marines. Legion Special Rules are back in a big way.
Boo!
The first one they released was The Emperor's Children, so I got super excited when I saw that show up on my feed.
I texted you so many expletives.
So every Chaos Legion now has a Legion trait. Legion traits are powerful abilities available to Chaos Space Marine armies that provide bonuses to infantry, bikers, and Hellbrutes. Exactly like Space Marines.
Yep.
Also want to point out here that Hellforged Contemptor Dreadnoughts from the Forge World book have the Hellbrute keyword, which is awesome.
Dirty.
So, the Emperor's Children are a terrifying close combat army in the new Space Marine Codex with access to a whole host of abilities that'll make the army one of the best melee forces in the game. I'm still going to play them straight up shooty.
Yeah, like, well, that...
Anyways, I'm going to tell you what their Legion trait is. So we went over all the Space Marine chapter tactics. The Emperor's Children Legion trait is flawless perfection. So inured to everyday sensations by lifetimes of indulgence, the Emperor's Children find stimulation only in excess, be it shocking acts of violence or gratuitous displays of martial prowess. Units with this trait always fight first in the fight phase, even if they didn't charge. If the enemy has units that have charged or have a similar ability, then alternate choosing units to fight with, starting with the player whose turn is taking place.
You now get your fight phase in my fight phase.
Yep.
That is so annoying.
So even if Paul charges me with 3 units, he activates one of his units first. I activate one of my units. He activates another one of his units if he's charged. Once he's out of charging units, all the rest of the Noise Marine Emperor's Children units
Go first.
go next.
That is so dirty.
Yeah.
That is so upsetting. And even while that is happening, I can't ignore the cover that you're not in.
It's true. I'm not going to be in cover.
Of course you're not.
So this pairs well with both the psychic power that Slaanesh gets, which is Delightful Agonies.
Really? Because I was thinking it would pair very nice with a Malbec because it's such cheese, Nick.
No, of course, nothing's cheese.
That's true.
No cheese.
You're right.
So Delightful Agonies is the new mark of Slaanesh psychic power. So it has a warp charge value of 6. If manifested, select a visible Slaanesh Heretic Astartes unit within 18 inches of the Psyker. This does not have to be an infantry unit, by the way.
I know.
This is just any unit. Until the start of your next psychic phase.
Mm-hmm.
Roll a d6 each time a model in that unit loses a wound. On a 5-up, it does not lose that wound.
Why 5 up? Like,
Yeah, so I'm going to cast this on a Contemptor Dreadnought and then charge it into combat. And then it's just going to get stuck in there and attack first all the time.
Yeah. And it's going to have a 4-up save, and then a 5-up.
And then it's going to eat people and regain wounds.
I hate you.
So the next thing is the stratagems. We talked about Space Marine chapter-specific stratagems.
Thank you.
Now we have the Chaos Space Marine Legion-specific stratagems being revealed. This is so good, Paul.
I know. Just say it.
Okay. So this is 2 command points, and you use this stratagem at the end of your shooting phase. You select a Heretic Astartes Slaanesh infantry unit or biker unit. This unit can immediately shoot again.
Dirty. So dirty. Now, do you think things like Noise Marines are going to lose the ability to shoot after they're being killed?
No.
No? I
No.
didn't think so.
I hope not.
Oh, that would be beautiful for me.
I haven't seen any big rules changes between the Space Marine Codex, the Index and the Codex.
Yeah, there's a couple of points rejiggers, but that's fine.
Yeah.
That one's so good. Like, just being able to take a unit of Havocs and fire again.
Yeah,
or
it's
units.
double firing las cannons, double firing plasma cannons, or just a Noise Marine unit firing again.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden you're basically doubling the number of shots. So a Noise Marine unit puts out 21 shots with Sonic Blasters, which are basically miniature bolters, D3 shots with the Doom Siren, and 2D3 shots with the Heavy Blastmaster setting. Double that.
Well, this kind of reduces a penalty for failure for your units. Like, we've all had shooting phases that just kind of are wet. You know? They're just... They don't catch fire the way they're supposed to. This kind of mitigates that. It is 2 command points, though, but it does feel like 2 command points well spent. Oh, and I'm being told to stretch. And it's kind of fluffy, I think. Though it doesn't really feel it for Emperor's Children. Like, I figured that they would get more sort of martial prowess ones, more assaulty things. But again, we don't know what their warlord trait's going to look like.
Well, I think they're always fighting first in combat. It's pretty good.
Yeah, but I just mean like the Imperial Fist, we ignore cover, and then for getting, we always get cover saves from things that are -1. That is such a crappy rule.
That's a warlord trait too.
That's a warlord trait.
Yeah.
So
Not too impressed by that.
no.
All right, Ultimate Grudge match. Iron Warriors in this corner, Imperial Fists in the other, and they have the exact same Legion chapter specific trait.
I saw that and I was like, you poor bastards. That sucks.
Well, yeah, because it sucks for you too. So enemy units attacked by units with this trait do not gain any bonuses to their saving throws for being in cover. In addition, you can reroll failed to wound rolls for units with this trait when they target a building.
Shoot a building. Have you ever shot a building before?
Mm-hmm.
Oh god, so have I.
With a camera.
Oh, okay.
Are we recording?
Yeah, we're recording.
Okay. I don't know how that thing works.
Yeah, you hit the button twice.
Doesn't it usually flash?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, so we have also they included a Tzeentch psychic power
Sure.
because actually this makes sense. So this is a Tzeentch psychic power called Weaver of Fates. I think this does match up very well. Actually, no, because it has to be Tzeentch Heretic Astartes. But I guess you can give Tzeentch keyword to an Iron Warriors unit. So basically, this is a Warp Charge Power 6 psychic power. You add +1 to the invulnerable save for the unit. Models that do not have an invulnerable save gain a 5-up invulnerable save again. So you can cast this on a Chaos Lord or a Demon Prince and give him a 3-up save.
Nuts.
This pairs very well with the Iron Warriors Relic.
What is it, pray tell?
Is it a relic or is it something else?
I
I
don't
don't
know.
know. Maybe it's a evil relic. So this is the Flesh Metal Exoskeleton. So this is
That's a Cannibal Corpse song, right?
Probably, it sounds like it. So this is an Iron Warriors model only. The bearer of the Flesh Metal Exoskeleton has a save characteristics of 2 up. In addition, this model heals 1 wound at the start of each of your turn.
That's so metal.
Throw that on a Demon Prince.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's rude is what that is. But I feel like Demon Princes are going to have 2-up saves.
They have 3-up saves.
They have 3-up saves?
Because they just have power armor.
Get out.
So the Iron Warriors specific Warlord trait is friendly Iron Warriors units within 6 inches of your Warlord automatically pass morale tests. This pairs perfectly with cultists.
Oh my god, I never even considered that.
Because you're throwing units of 30 cultists, and even if you lose 20 of them, they're not failing that morale test.
Nuts.
Which is awesome. And then the last thing we have here is the Iron Warrior Stratagem. I like this one. So you use this stratagem when an Iron Warriors unit loses a wound. 1 command point. Roll a d6 for that wound, and for each wound lost by the unit for the rest of that phase. On a 6, that wound is not lost.
That's so cool. Like that, they occupy this really cool space for me now between Imperial Fists and Iron Hands. Like conceptually, that's kind of how I'm picturing them, and that's sort of how they should be.
Yeah, because
Especially in 40k.
Yeah, because they have a weird relationship with the Dark Mechanicus, right?
Yeah, and like the Bionics thing, it's not obviously purging the weak or anything like that. It's more just they don't like mutations and stuff, and they've always sort of had a propensity towards Bionics. I like that. Who's that guy? Is it Toussaint or
Houndsu?
Hansu? Yeah.
Yeah.
I really hope that they give that guy a model.
He died.
Did he?
Yeah, he got like blown in half by a meltagun or something in the books. The Iron Warriors Omnibus.
God, is that how you find out? He was such a cool character.
He was a cool character.
I liked him because in the books he was just like, oh yeah, no, I'll do like the horrible Chaos Marine things. But then it like came to his men. He was like, no, I like these guys. These are my friends.
Yeah.
Like we're not, gonna do bad stuff to our own guys. That's idiotic.
Honestly, we're gonna get off a little off topic here, getting more into the fluff.
Mm-hmm.
The Iron Warriors have to be one of my favorite legions from a fluff standpoint. Like when you start reading about Petrarabo and his problems and the stuff he does to his own legion, you're like, you really sympathize with these guys because They all have post-traumatic stress disorder. They're all Vietnam vets. Nobody cares about what they do, and they go berserk during the heresy.
They had to decimate their own legion.
Oh boy.
Which is pretty brutal.
Yeah, for anybody out there who doesn't know, decimate means that...
To reduce by 1/10.
So basically the Romans did this, and the Iron Warriors did this. You make your soldiers get into groups of 10...
And they have to decide which one of them dies.
And they beat them to death with their own hands.
That's trauma bonding. That is definition of trauma bonding.
It is. Yeah, that's terrifying. And the Emperor's children are just crazy people with a dubstep fetish. Actually, a lot of fetishes.
Yeah, every fetish is.
Yeah, that's fair.
Mm-hmm. I basically picture them as like Hunter S. Thompson in space.
Yes. Yep. I'm excited to see the new Chaos book. It comes out August 12th. No, pre-orders go up this Saturday. It's up the next week. So Paul and I will be playing a 10,000-year-old grudge match with our full codexes soon enough for you. Hopefully we'll get Jay or Adam to film it, because for anybody out there who watches our battle reports, I lost the first battle report of 8th edition that I did against Paul because I was tired and I got cocky and I was not paying attention to the objectives.
Yep.
I'm gonna get you.
You know what? Looking at the difference between your Legion and my chapter, yeah, you might. Because GW does not balance rules very well.
Oh, stop complaining. You complain.
Oh my god, it's so fun to complain.
Oh man, so when the Space Marine stuff was coming out,
it's diagnostic.
I was talking about how, oh man, this is so good. You know, this is powerful. These stratagems are powerful. And Paul and Connor were like, stop complaining, Nick. Stop complaining, Nick. And now the new Chaos stuff's coming out, and it's just Paul lighting up my Facebook feed, sending me messages complaining about Chaos. So
that is
the shoe is on the other foot, sir.
No, because you were complaining about your already good things.
I wasn't complaining about it.
That got better.
You're remembering this wrong.
I'm remembering it. I have the receipts.
Oh God, it's not good.
All right, you know what? Come back this time next week. We'll have another episode for you. I think we're gonna have a guest. We've got one lined up.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, this is like the first time in a long time that we've got an episode planned out.
Yeah, he's paying us to be here.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
I think so.
Yeah, okay.
I hope so.
Yeah.
So that'll be a fun surprise. Yeah, and you out there, you stay safe. We should probably work on like a cool sign-off like they do on other cool podcasts.
Or just fade out slowly into oblivion.
Yeah. Goodbye. This has been and will remain Paul Mr. Fist Fowler.
Point and click Nick.
And Adam Truax, the truest axe to ever axe an axe.
And thanks for joining us. And check back again soon for some more 40k goodness. And remember, it's just inches and cubes.
Like a monkey in a rocket on his way back home. Okay.